Hi everyone, it's Friday again. So this is Christian SassePhoto, your host, and I'm here with Rebecca for another exciting show. We'll be with you in just over a minute. Very nice to see you all. Thank you. Hi everyone, we're back again. It's Friday. So here's me and Rebecca. It's the last time before I go to Australia.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so we got some exciting things again. I mean, there's been so much going on at the nest. So hi to everyone on Periscope, on Facebook, and also on YouTube. Yeah, so Rebecca, you got a few words of introduction?
Yeah, so if you guys are on Patreon, you've noticed that I've been posting some blogs on there, sending out your monthly reward photos and things like that. So I just want to thank everybody for your continued support and your monthly donations on there. But we also wanted to give a shout out to those who have been donating on YouTube over the last 3 months. I went through our videos and just gathered the information on who is donating and the amounts you guys donated. So we wanted to just go through and acknowledge who's been giving those donations. And if you hear your name on this list, Christian's going to put up an email for you guys to just send your username and your email us at that email with your YouTube username so that we know who you are. And we'd like to send you a reward as well for giving your support. So I'm just going to go through the list and read out the people that have been... Yeah, so our email is SassePhoto@gmail.com, and then I'll be able to send out your rewards to you. So we've got Glenn Hazelwoody, Proud Cat Mama of 3, Marsadotes, I still haven't figured out how to say that one, GoPro Creations, Osprey Mama, Pilot Mom 975, Kathy Harder, Sunny Day Nature Photography.
Okay.
Susie, Carrie Miller, Klingon Warbird, Terry Green, Sherry M, Chicky D64, which I saw here today.
Yeah, we saw, yes.
Pamela S, Jamie Fruit, SW, SoCal Eagle, Tree Climbing, and Rebecca Jo Steelman. So if you heard your name on there or you know that you have donated within the last 3 months, please give us an email at SassePhotoPatreon@gmail.com and we'd like to send you guys a reward.
So that's easy to remember. It's just SassePhoto, the channel name. Just add Patreon because you are also the patrons. And really, I want to thank you from really the bottom of my heart for your support. It's tremendous. So we'd like to include you, all the people who donate very generously from the beginning of this year. So we've just, if you haven't heard your name, we're going to probably put that down underneath the channel later, so you'll be able to see it. But do please send an email here, SassePhotoPatreon@gmail.com, and we'd love to reward you. So thank you so much. Okay, so let's get going. Very nice. I see lots of people here that I can see. I can't greet you, all of you, but it's so nice to have all of you here. And we have an exciting Friday once again because there's been so much going on at the nest, and thank goodness to Lady Hawk, whom I don't yet see. Maybe she's busy with all the nests. There's so much happening. But we would love to give you an update actually on what's going on. So I'm going to jump over. But before we do that, we'll just jump here. There we go. So we're going to give you a nest update now. So 1 second, get the right screen here in the background and get out of the way. Here we go. Okay, so thank you to Lady Hawk. She's done an incredible job. We all benefit from her. Incredible dedication. So thanks for giving these incredible updates all over. So let's start with this mysterious photo that we saw, and we're jumping here to Big Bear. That's the big bear leg. So Mrs. Big Bear laid her second egg on the 9th of March. So let's take a quick look. Isn't this camera just marvelous? I so admire this camera. I cannot get over the clarity of this camera. So you're going to see her really digging herself in there, keeping everything nice and warm. And there you can see the eggs. Really beautiful. So thanks. That's the first video from Big Bear. And I will try and close it immediately so we don't have any sounds coming across. And then comes the next one. Now, this is a curious one. I've never seen anything like this. So, Mama Big Bear defends herself against ravens. I mean, usually we have crows in White Rock often, or in Canada. I haven't seen ravens actually attack. So this is rather unique what you're going to see here. See a huge raven there. The level of detail is just insane. Look at this now.
You can see all the...
Wham! I love it. I love it. My goodness. That mama had enough, right? So that's a marvelous contribution, really. Incredible. Got lots of views too. So let's close that one. And then it gets even crazier at the Big Bear Eagle Cam with this incredible resolution. So, of course, it starts snowing then. And you can see, I'm just going to show you parts of this. So that was on the 11th. Mum was completely covered in snow, protecting her eggs. Right? So I'm just going to spool a little bit forward. And look how it gets. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Really crazy. It's quite windy too. And trying to sleep here, and it goes through the whole night. In fact, look at this picture. Isn't that insane? Isn't that incredible? Oh my goodness. So it's there comes a big fluff. And I think we have another one, because I think Lady Hawk did another video then in slow motion. So let me just open this one where it's all seen in slow motion, what you just seen, because you have to really enjoy this. So we put this in super slow motion. Whoom! That's a marvelous shot. Oh, this is incredible. So, I mean, we're so lucky to have all these cameras. So there you can see, that's brushing off all the snow. Okay, so that's so much for Big Bear Leg. And that's also where the cover picture, where's the eagle came from. And then now we're jumping to Decora. At Decora, there were 3 eggs, and one of these eggs broke, unfortunately. So that was on the 11th. So let's just have a look at that. So you can clearly see, again, that's a marvelous camera here. There you can see that the egg definitely is missing the top, and you can see it's very clearly cracked. And I'm just going to spool a little bit forward here, because there's a close-up, definitely, of the cracked egg. So the big question and the big mystery then was what was going on there, and why was the egg cracked? It's one of the 3 eggs. Is it the first, the second, or third egg? And I'm just going to put the loudspeaker on quiet so I can read out to you the long notes that Lady Hawk wrote to me from the Raptor Resource Project. So they say the contents were still fluid, which means that the egg wasn't frozen, and the egg was one of the older browner eggs. Explaining then, eggs become stained as they are rolled in the nest, which, until all eggs have picked up roughly the same amount of color, means that the older eggs tend to appear brown or darker. Very logical, isn't it? Based on what we saw during the shift change, we think this might have been the first egg. So what happened? The answer is nobody really knows. Did the eagle puncture it? No, that's unlikely. We don't know for sure. So here we go into some speculations, quite interesting. The first egg was laid between 2 very large snowstorms, and Mum and DM2 did not have a chance to get the egg cup as quickly padded as they usually do. It may have been rolled over against a hard stick and then cracked. That's one of the hypotheses. It may also have cracked today. That's the day where the event happened. But it could also have developed a tiny crack early, and then later, of course, it's split as incubated, as mom and DM2 incubated. We can't yet recover the egg now, but if enough shell fragments are left when we do camera work this fall, we'll retrieve it and measure egg shell fragments to see if the egg thickness was sufficient. John is reviewing recorded video to see if there's anything more that we can record. And also it goes on to say, as hard as it is to see, it might be better in the long run. And why? Because we have 3 eggs, of course. This was the 3rd one. We've heard from a lot of followers who are concerned about the 8-day spread between the 1st and the 3rd egg. That's quite a large spread. Sibling aggression isn't unknown at the decora nest. In fact, it's not unknown anywhere. And the difference of 8 days could have resulted in large size and weight discrepancy between the oldest and youngest eagles. The youngest eaglet would have been likely too small and hard, defending itself against its much larger siblings. So if these 2 eggs do make it, everything will be fine. So thank you for that. That is a very long and great explanation. I'm just going to close that window. Oh, and here's another. This is a cute one. This is of the decora nest. You can see there's a lot of hide and seek playing. Look at the tail. So look towards the left and see what's going on there. This is really funny. It's really funny. So it's quite a long video again here from Lady Hawk. I'm going to jump a little bit ahead to see where Mama actually says, hey, what is going on here? I mean, they're having a cozy, warm time underneath there. Whoops! No, she didn't like that. There was something going on. So getting a little bit annoyed. And I think, yes, if we spool a little bit further, which I'm doing now. Ah, now she sees something or she feels something. They can't see it at night, of course. We know that from the camera, but she can definitely feel something. And she's getting enough of this. So very nice. That is 3 blind mice playing at night. Very nice. Okay, now we come to our beloved Florida nest. Now Florida, I don't know if Gretchen's there today, but she asked me earlier, should I give you an update? But Lady Hawk already did it, so thank you very much, Gretchen. So let me show you quickly what's going on in the northeast Florida nest. I'll play it for you now. So that obviously here is... Where are my notes? Here. So this is interesting. That's an injured sub-adult. That looks like a 3-year-old coming in, 3-4-year-old coming in. To nest several times to rest. You can clearly see his right foot is swollen. That's not the first time we've seen it. I've seen this quite a few times also in real life, especially when I was in Dutch Harbor. It's amazing. Sometimes the foot actually becomes completely almost like a brick, very hard. It sort of swells and becomes hard, so they use it, they can lean on it if the foot is broken. We don't know whether the foot in this case is broken or whether it is, you know what to do, it's a sprained foot, but they cannot obviously put the weight on the foot. So this is quite an interesting observation. So a lot going on at the northeast Florida nest, and you can see how the weight distribution there is on the foot. And
Christian,
yes.
I think Gretchen is here.
Gretchen is here. Hi, Gretchen.
She says that they haven't seen the injured sub-adult in a couple of days and they're hoping for the best.
Very good. Thank you for that update. So we hope for the best. Of course we do. Hi, Gretchen. Very nice to hear you. Glad you have made it today. And that is a close-up. And of course, if you want to add anything to that, Gretchen, you may. So we haven't seen it for a while. Thanks for the input, but it's very clear that you can see, you know, you can definitely see the very swollen foot clearly, and how the weight distribution is here, right? So what's happened to Samson, Gretchen? Is Samson still around? I'd love to know. Yeah, put it in the chat. I haven't heard anything from Samson lately. Okay, so now we jump. This is exciting stuff. This is really marvelous. We come now to the southwest nest, and this is marvelous because they are fledging. And so we heard last time that they were the youngest branches already, but now comes the fledging. So look at that. It's first E12 fledging. So you should see that at any moment. We're going to wait about 30 seconds, and then we'll see it's a big moment. Oh, that's the first little part of it. But, you know, I saw this in White Rock. It was so exciting. I saw them fledge, and I was with my camera underneath the trees, and they get so scared. You know, it's such a big step. it's like jumping into the cold. You have to make this incredible step, and you have to, there it flies, you have to control all these fine flying feathers all at once. And it's an incredible thing. You don't know how it's going to do. And there you can see it's landing on the other dead tree and staying there for quite a while. So all gone very well. And then of course it has to make it back again, which is also another big step, right? But it's a very scary day. I remember that. It's quite an experience if you're right next to the eagles and you can see all this. So if we spool a little bit forward, which I'm going to do now, if we can catch it, I'm not sure. Sometimes our connections are a little bit slow, but we do finally see, and I don't know if this was all in the same or whether this, I think probably Lady Hawk, yeah, wait, that was a little bit too much jumping there. Wait a sec. Ah, here's the moment. There's the moment I've been looking for now. So that's E12 returning actually, which is the most important. So let's just wait for that moment. And that's quite something because there comes the turn. It's quite a control of feathers to do that. It's quite incredible, actually, what they manage. It's very cute, by the way, when they land. You know, they sort of land like this. It's like it's really funny, you know, when they're learning. I'm sure you've seen this many times. So that's anyway. That is E12. So what was going on with E13? Another incredible. This is an owl attack. You know, this comes back to my question, why do owls attack them at night? And you know what I think. But let's just have a look. This is so gruesome. It's sitting there very quietly. And there comes the owl. Boom! Wow. Wow, that's quite a camera angle. That's horrible. And of course, I mean, the speculation was, you know, well, at night the owl hit E30 and knocked him off the perch. He fell below the nest and landed on a branch. Fortunately, he stayed there all night put. So that's afterwards. You have a look at that video. Very interesting. So that was the horrible owl attack. And then next morning, things looked very well, and I'm just going to show you that. So that's E12 sitting there. So where is E13? But you'll be able to see E13 in a moment. Let's just wait up, making itself. I don't know, does anybody know whether they're he's or she's? Are there any speculations on whether they're males or females? Just send a message in the chat. We'll watch also the Facebook and so on. If you know, if there comes the climb. There comes the climb. Reminds me of an owl almost, you know, when they learn how to fly, you know, how to perch and so on. They go up the tree like that. It's quite interesting. This little owl, I remember when I made a story with that. But it then makes it right back. Makes it right back. So all looks well. So let's take a small jump. I don't know where the jump comes, but it should come any moment. It should come any moment. Gonna just resting a bit and then it's gonna come right back. Yeah, there it comes anyway. So the E12 is very busy, of course. So that was wonderful. That was on the 13th. So returned, and then the question is, well, isn't E13 going to also fledge? So let's take a look. And that was also the 79th day. So here comes the 79th day. That is the great day. That was on the 14th. So it's a day later. A day later. Let me just see where the camera was. Get this correct. Yeah, there is E13 sickening. So let's just wait a sec. A big day. Isn't it incredible when they suddenly decide to do that? Mm-hmm. I know Osprey Mama would say, I've seen this so many times with ospreys, haven't you? I'm quite sure you have. It's quite something. There comes the moment. That's it. So that was very successful. What an exciting week. And thank you for Lady Hawk also to this exactly the same tree sitting there. And I don't know if then of course it comes back at some stage. Let's just spool a little bit forward. I think here comes the flight back. We're just going to catch that moment. Yeah, beautiful light, isn't it? Beautiful light. And here comes that scary moment right back. Ooh, and making it up again. Fantastic. Well, that's it. Isn't that incredible? So that was an exciting week in Florida and Decorah and also at big bear. So let me finally show also at the Hancock Wildlife. They've got a beautiful page, by the way. Hancock Wildlife Foundation. Let me just show you. There's this beautiful picture here. Look at this one. Have you seen anything like this? There's a eagle and a squirrel. I think it's absolutely marvelous. Roger Stevens who took this. And he took this in, what he says, behind the Rite Aid store in downtown Lincoln in Maine. That's incredible. Beautiful picture. Very nice contribution. And also there's been a lot of layings of eggs in, first on Delta we got 2 eggs now, and we also have 2 eggs in the Surrey Reserve nest. So go and look at those camps too. It's getting very busy everywhere. Okay, so let me hand back. Any comments?
Yeah, we had
there?
a few guesses.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So on Facebook, Sue McCarty
Yes.
guessed that E12 is a girl and
Oh.
E13 is a boy.
Okay.
I think Mac Lady was the opposite.
Okay, opposite. Well, that's
was
good.
Who guessed? Oh yeah, Mac Lady. I think E13 is female, and then Lady Hawk says, we don't know for certain the sex, Christian, without DNA. I think E12 is a female. She's larger and more aggressive than E13.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
So very hard to tell.
Well, no, it's very hard. I mean, I always think of my wonderful friend David Hancock, and I go out with him. How difficult it is. He's got such experience. Even when we're in Japan, takes a look at eagles, and I often ask him, David, is that a male or female? And he says, I just don't know. It's tremendously difficult, right? Mm-hmm. Very nice. Okay, so where are we now? Any other comments to?
Well, that picture of the squirrel, it reminded me too, and Osprey Mama, she had on her channel that video of the squirrel facing off with the hawk.
Right.
I just thought that was really funny.
Okay, good. Good. By the way, before we go on, I'm going to show you some nice pictures quickly from, let me just get the background here. I just wanted to show you some beautiful pictures. I've just processed some. Didn't have much time. But again, those who donate, right? Those who donate, and we're very grateful for that. Those who've just joined, again, earlier we called out all the kind people on YouTube who have donated. So just spool to the beginning. If your name is there, just send an email again to SassePhoto@gmail.com. We want to include you, giving out pictures just as much as we value a patron. I know some of you even do both. I know that. So thanks for that. But I just wanted to show you some of these marvelous pictures that are ready. These are incredible pictures of this is a Steller's eagle in an attack here on a white-tailed. And this is just a funny walk. You've seen this very often. That's out on the ice. Funny, there's a Steller's walking right by, and you can see the white-tail looking at that. So these are the images that are awaiting you. And here's a lot of kerfuffle there. Whitetails next to, you can see how much bigger the Stellers are actually compared to the whitetails. The whitetails are slightly larger than our bald eagles. So lots of kerfuffle going on everywhere. And I was actually able to give you a real size difference. Now I was in an aviary. This is photographed inside an aviary, which is quite remarkable. So I was inside the aviary and I had these beautiful eagles flying over me and around me, and it was amazing. So I got this angle where there was a Steller's next to a whitetail. Now, if you imagine the whitetails are the size of our bald eagles, only slightly bigger. Look at the size of the Steller's. Now, I don't know, you say, well, we don't know whether it's male or female. But anyway, it gives you it gives you a perspective of the size difference. Just incredible. Actually, I've never seen any size comparison. I was always looking for it. And here you go. Now, imagine this. I'm going to Australia next week, and the wedge-tailed eagle there is even bigger than the Steller's. It's got a wingspan of over, I think it's 8.5 feet, which is about 2.5 meters. So I can't wait to go there with my beautiful video camera and video that for you for the first time and show you, if I can, show you wedge-tailed eagles from close-ups. Really exciting. And remember, we were talking about drones last time, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay. So let's just show you some more of the images. That's just another beautiful one that there's to give away. And last time that was the winner picture that you've seen. That's a beautiful Steller's flying over the ice. That's a very nice white-tailed going for his food. And that's a white-tailed in close-up. So lots of beautiful images coming out of my trip. And ready, and again, thanks for those who are donating, and we will happily give them away. Okay, so there you go. Yeah. And that'll be the winning picture today for our
trivia questions.
Yes, trivia questions.
And I want to say thank you to Osprey Mama for your donation. I'm really happy to be here too. You guys are awesome, and I feel like part of the family on the show.
Very good, Rebecca. So now it's up to Rebecca. She got some incredible, I mean, she always astounds me. She comes here around lunchtime and then she gives me all these quiz questions, which of course I fail on every single one. So I'm going to hand it over to Rebecca now. So let me see. Let me just get everything ready for you, Rebecca. And let's see how we do this, like there. Oh, I got to... No, sorry, that's not correct. Oh, that was the wrong one, sorry. That was my notes from Lady Hawk. What I meant is this one. Oh, no, it's not Carla Bloom either. No, I got
there
it. And I have to put you back in. Sorry, got a bit mixed up. Okay, here we go.
And then
yes.
We'll do present.
Yes, we got it.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so if you're on Patreon, you've heard me talk a little bit about this already. I posted a video of some of the work I've been doing on the Coquitlam River in British Columbia. So when I'm not doing my snowshoe job and when I'm not here with Christian, I'm out on the Coquitlam River and I work as a fisheries technician. So, and my job is all about salmon. And I just want to thank Tree Climbing too for your donation. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, just like a little summary of salmon, and then I'll go into the work that I do, and then we've also got some trivia questions in here. So, there's salmon on both the Pacific coast and the East Coast, but I'm going to focus on the Pacific salmon. So the general life cycle is they come and they spawn in the river, they lay the eggs. Over the winter, the eggs develop and they leave the gravel. And the salmon here have a really awesome adaptation of being able to survive in fresh water and then migrating out to the ocean and changing their entire bodies to be able to live in salt water rather than fresh water. And then they do it all over again when they come back to spawn again. And our first trivia question has to do with the name of these salmon. So the genus, so Latin names, there's a genus and a species, so it's a two-part name. And the genus for all 5 of the Pacific salmon is Oncorhynchus. So it's kind of a weird sounding name, Oncorhynchus. Right. And I quizzed Christian on this earlier. He came really close to figuring it out, kind of. Yeah,
well, that's being nice. I failed, okay?
I sucked. Fail.
It was no good, okay? So let's not lie, okay? I didn't do it.
So you guys can Google the answer to this, but try to do it without Googling. So the genus name is Oncorhynchus, and the quiz question is, what does Oncorhynchus stand for? So try to think of those 2 main words, onco and rhynchus.
Rhynchus, right.
See if you can think of any other words that have rhynchus or rhino or something in it. And we'll put up the phone number for you guys.
Oh, yes. So this is right. Let me just jump back in here. So our phone number is here. There you go.
425-223-4960.
I'm going to put so make sure that I hear the phone. Yes. So we are ready for your call. So can you repeat the question once more, please? Go ahead.
So what does the Latin genus name Oncorhynchus stand for? So why do salmon have this weird Latin name Oncorhynchus? What does it stand for? And G. Evans says salmons are delicious, and I agree. For a while, I tried to stop eating salmon at the sushi place because I thought it wasn't as sustainable, but it's just so hard to deny myself that delicious salmon.
Delicious. It is. Absolutely. So, that's the question.
Thank you to Glenn Hazelwoody for your donation again. You've donated a whole bunch over the last couple months.
Yes, and again, please send the email also to, that's the email, sorry, SassePhoto Patreon@gmail.com. Please send us there, and so we definitely want to include you in the description. So again, here's the phone number, 425-223-4960. Quite a difficult question. You know, they're getting more and more challenging now. So anybody, also Patreon or so, Kit and so on, whoever. Oh, sorry, I get it wrong every time.
There are some people on Periscope that have the right answer, but you have to call in to win.
Oh, there's some people who have the right answer. Okay. So those some. So just those of you on Patreon, you are
Periscope. We keep doing that. We keep calling Periscope and Patreon
I'm really bad today. Sorry. Thanks, Rebecca. So on Periscope, just call in. Come on, you're on Periscope. Call in. You are seconds ahead of the others, so you're lucky because you see the stream maybe a few seconds before the others, so you have a small head start. So try. Oh, here we go. We have a call, so let's take it. See if it's gonna work. Hope it will. Come on. Hello.
Hello?
Hi, who's there, please?
This is Chaplain Chick calling, Dr. Sasse.
Hi, how are you? Kathleen.
Hi, I'm doing good.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing the show.
Oh, that's a pleasure. So where are you calling from?
I am in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, Tucson, Arizona, nice and warm. I envy you.
Yes, well, it's a little bit cool here today. I think it's in the 60s, which is cool for us.
Right, that's summer for us. No, it's not that bad. But, okay.
Do you guys have salmon down in Arizona?
I don't believe we do. I do not believe we do. I think it's just trout and bass and catfish.
Ah.
Oh, that's cool.
Those kind of fish.
So that surprises me. How do you know the answer?
I don't know if this is the correct answer. I have not Googled it, but I'm going to say hooked nose.
Ding, 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 ding. That's the correct answer.
Correct?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You are very good. You know, that's as close. I didn't get as close as you did. I just started thinking about the rhinoceros or something with the nose, but I didn't get that hooked part. So that was good.
The rhino I knew was nose and what is it? Ancho?
Yeah, onco.
Yes.
Anco.
Good for you.
Yeah, I was just taking a guess. If you look at the pictures, the nose is hooked. So that's kind of why.
Well, you're very observant.
Awesome. So yeah, send us an email.
Right. So send us an email. You can. By the way, if you want to send it straight, because Rebecca received these emails, so send it straight to SassePhoto Patreon, please. And she'll send you this wonderful image. Okay. And,
thank you so much, Dr. Sasse, and thank you, Rebecca.
You're very welcome, and thanks for
and hello to everyone out there.
Okay. Hello to everyone from I get all the names wrong.
Kathleen.
Yeah, go. Thanks. Kathleen, thank you, Kathleen. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go. That was a difficult one to start off with.
Yeah, our first one.
And okay, well, at the moment I can't take any call. I'm just going to make it on silent because we don't have the second question. But you can keep on ringing until we have the second question. So I've just silenced my laptop here, so it's just going to start on ringing. So don't call at the moment. Just be patient, please, until we come to the next one. So I'm just going to go back to the next one. So yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, you go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I'll grab.
Oh, sorry, you need to go to the. Yeah, just don't worry.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, so Kathleen was right. Oncorhynchus, and I saw on Periscope somebody said I thought onkos was Greek, and yes, this is based off of Greek words. So onkos means hook, rhynchos means nose, so like rhinoceros or rhinoplasty. And they get their name because when they go to spawn, the males get these big hooked noses that they used to compete with other males. So hooked nose is the correct answer. So back to the work that I do on the river. So this is a photo of the traps that we use. So basically, when the salmon are leaving the gravel and heading out to the ocean, they're called fry, so they're little fish, and I've got some pictures of these. And as they're migrating out to the ocean, we capture them, and we count them, identify them, and measure them to try and get an idea of what the population is in the river. So we use these traps called a rotary screw trap, or an RST. So you can see one of my coworkers there standing on the trap. We've just built it, so it's not quite in the river yet. And thank you, Brenda, for your donation also. You guys are so generous. And
you really are, so thanks.
So see if I've got...
sorry, I have to put this on your page here. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so here's another photo of it actually kind of in the river. So you can see that big round part. It almost looks like a generator, like water flows into it and it spins. And as the salmon swim down the river, they swim into that big circle, and you can see my coworker Jason there is standing inside of a box at the back of the trap.
Right.
So they swim in, they get stuck in that box in the back, and we go in every morning and afternoon and check on the fish that are in there. So and then we scoop them out into those buckets.
Yeah.
And then
wow, look at that.
We also have to do a lot of maintenance. So those aren't actually fish that she has there. Those are catkins, which are kind of the pollen-bearing parts of alder trees. So in the spring, a lot of the stuff falls into the river and it also goes into our trap. And we do our best to try and clean these traps out so that the fish have a nice place to hang out inside of those trap boxes. So we go in, we clean them out, and then here's a photo of the fry. So this is in millimeters for those of you that are in the States. So these fry are about like max 2 inches in length. So these are the baby salmon. I'm just going to see if there's any questions just as we go, because I don't want to.
Oh yeah, go. Yeah, sure.
Go over anybody's questions just in case there is some. No, I think we're good. Yeah, so these are the fry that we find, and for these ones we just count them. So we count them out of these buckets with a little scoop. We use a little tallywhacker, so a little clicker, and then we count them into this big garbage can. And we separate them by species. So there's really 3 main types of fish that we get in the Coquitlam River: the coho, chum, and in some years we get pink salmon. So we have these cords going into the garbage can, and that provides oxygen, because if we have, sometimes we'll get 700 fish in a day, and if they're all in one thing of water, they're all using up a lot of oxygen, so we provide them oxygen. We keep them in dark buckets because if we put them into lighter buckets, they actually change color to match their surroundings.
What?
And the colors that are on them really help us identify the species, so we try to keep them in dark buckets. Yeah, it's really interesting. Within minutes, you'll see that their colors actually change and they shift.
That's insane. That's crazy. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Wow.
Yeah, so we count them in there, and then if you can see in this photo, the bucket is a little bit orange, so we use something called BB stain. So for all of the fry, if we get over 200, we mark them all with an orange coloring, and it's temporary. It lasts like a couple days. So you can see in this photo, the fry are kind of orange tinted, and their fins kind of hold on to that dye for a few days, because then we take the bucket, the big garbage can, and we walk it upstream of our traps, like drive it up a couple kilometers, and then we release them back into the river again. And then if we catch them again throughout the week, we can use some math to determine what the population is based on how many we recapture and how many new fish we get in the trap. So it's a lot of math. I don't have to do any of the math, luckily. I just have to count the fish.
I love math.
I used to like math, but... So we don't get just the small fish. We don't get just fry. We also get these bigger fish, which are called smolts. So the fry kind of hang out in the river for a little bit, and then once they start to head to the ocean for real, they turn into something called a smolt. So they're a lot bigger. We have to use a bigger measuring board for these guys. They can be like, I don't know. I can't remember how big that is, but they could be here or here. Cool. Pretty big. And so we measure these, and this is actually a rainbow trout or a steelhead. So we talked about steelhead a little bit last time. Right. So they're also a type of salmon, but they're in the salmon family, but they're a trout. So they can go to the ocean and come back, and they can breed without dying. So they can do it multiple times. And thank you, Carrie Miller, for your donation too. I hope you guys are enjoying learning about fish, because I know a bit about them, so that's why I'm talking about them today. Yeah, so, and then this is kind of where it gets a little more interesting, is when we get these bigger fish, and we get all different types too. So this is the steelhead, and with the steelhead, to mark these guys, we actually inject them with a temporary dye and almost give them fish tattoos. So this is a picture of me from last year with either a coho or a steelhead, one of those smolts, and it's called VIE. I can't remember what that stands for, but my clothes and my hands always end up covered with all this neon dye at the end of the week. So
you glow all night, right?
Yeah, go to a rave.
I'm quite sure you do.
So we inject that either into the tail in between the fin rays, and then in this photo you can see a little bit better. We inject it into the tail, and then you can see there's kind of a bright orange spot that we'll be able to see if we catch him again. And so before we do this, we actually put in clove oil. So I don't know if you've ever had a toothache before.
Are you joking? Of course.
Yeah. So we were actually talking a little bit earlier about how like weird it was probably a couple hundred years ago
when they had
without
no.
having pain relief.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So if you've had a toothache before, you might have used clove oil to help dull the pain. So what happens with the fish is we put clove oil into the water, and that actually kind of acts as an anesthetic. So it makes them sleepy, kind of dulls any pain that they might experience. And then that's when we can inject them. So we try to reduce the suffering or the freakiness for the fish as much as we can. And you also notice that we clip the fin also. And the fins will regrow, but this helps us catch the marks if we capture them again. Because sometimes we've got hundreds of fish that we're looking through, and it's a little hard to see that dye sometimes.
Wow, yeah.
So we have a combination of different colors and things too. So in this picture, you can see a different mark. We've got the upper caudal fin clipped, and then we've also got right behind the eye. It's a little harder to see. These guys all have some blue
they can see
dye
that.
right behind the eye. Those ones are really freaky to do. You always think you're going to poke the fish's eye out, but look, I haven't done that yet.
Wow.
So I get to tattoo fish for work. And then this is kind of a picture of our schedule. So every week we have a different mark at each of our sites. We've got about 7 different sites that we mark these fish at. And then when we recapture them, that helps us know where the fish came from and when we caught it. So like we'll find a fish with a pink tail and we'll be like, oh, we marked this one 2 weeks ago at the top of the river. Or we marked this one 3 weeks ago down at the bottom of the river.
Oh.
And that also helps them with their math and determining the population. So I think... Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so
here.
This is... You might be wondering, why are we trying to determine the population? And this is a picture of... it's not the dam on the Coquitlam River, but this is a dam from my hometown in Mission. And BC Hydro provides a lot of hydroelectricity to British Columbia. And you wouldn't necessarily think that turning on your lights in your house is connected to fish, but it actually is. So what happens is BC Hydro, they're trying to do their best in reducing the impacts on salmon. So having a dam in the stream interrupts the migration of the salmon. They can no longer migrate upstream past the dam anymore. There's a lot of weird projects that happen where we take salmon and we put them in trucks and then drive them above the dam, and then they can be released.
That's
and
crazy.
They can lay their eggs.
That's absurd.
It's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, right.
Very expensive too.
Wow.
But sometimes it's necessary because salmon are just so important in our ecosystems here in the Northwest. But so BC Hydro, they have to control the flows to ensure that the salmon downstream have enough water and not too much water that it's going to mess up their nesting habitats. So we keep track of the flows that come out of the dam, and then we also give them the information of the populations.
Wow.
And then they have a third party that puts all that information together and helps them determine what the best flow rates are.
Gee.
Yeah, so and Jan was just saying, I wonder why this is being done. Marking fish, collecting, releasing them, and then I just explained it. So
sorry, I gotta jump here.
I'm not very good at explaining necessarily why these impacts are important, but a really cool documentary came out a few years ago, and it was on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, try and look it up and see if it's still there.
Damnation! What a good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like damnation, like a bad thing, but also like damn nation, because in the U.S. and in Canada, we have a lot of dams that we use for electricity, and it is a lot greener than burning coal or something, but it does have a lot of impacts on the environment as well. And so it explains a lot of that stuff. It explains a lot of the going-ons in hatcheries and how that affects salmon. And it also talks a lot about, there's a few dams down in the U.S. that have kind of been deactivated, so they're no longer really working that well, or they need to be upgraded.
Right.
And there's some really cool stories about where they've taken these dams out, and they've watched how the ecosystem has returned back to health, and seeing what the impacts the salmon have had being able to reach the full length of the river and not being stopped anymore. So I'd really recommend watching that. It's really cool.
Thank you. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So if you guys have any questions about salmon or anything, just...
Here you have the expert.
Yeah, not an expert, but I know quite a bit.
You do.
So I just gotta take a drink of water.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a little
go.
bit sick, so my voice
Yeah,
is
yeah,
a little
no,
bit
yeah.
off today. But
Yeah. That's okay. Take your time. Let's see if they're in there. I'm just looking at Facebook. Tim Phillips is saying there's a video out of E12 hanging upside down. Really, Tim?
oh my goodness.
Upside down, didn't land right. That is so funny. You know, I've seen eagles hanging upside down also in White Rock after a fight. I've seen that. Just seeing that remark. It's really funny. Okay.
So this leads us into some of the toad stuff that I was going to talk about. So,
yeah, the toxic ones. Right,
yeah.
let's hear it.
So while I'm doing this work, we actually get to see a lot of different types of animals. So a lot of animals rely on salmon. So kingfishers, mergansers, herons, the dippers. So I don't know if you've seen them. They're like a robin-sized bird that actually swims underwater in the rivers, and they eat the eggs. And minks. We saw a mink the other day. And we end up catching some other weird animals in our traps as well. So sometimes we get ducklings and stuff like that, but a lot of times we get different invertebrates. So this is a crayfish that's got some eggs on it, which is pretty interesting. Some giant crayfish.
Wow, look at that.
It's really cool. I've learned a whole bunch about the river just working this stuff.
Excuse me.
And then two of my other favorite bugs are the stonefly, which is in the top right-hand corner. They're just a really interesting looking bug. But right below that is something called the giant water bug. And I was telling Christian about this, and he seemed a little bit freaked out.
That's a crazy story, right?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have seen these before, but they're about, I don't know, they can be kind of the size of your hand. And they almost look like a leaf, and they're an ambush predator. So they sit in the side of the creek or in the wetland, and they wait for a fish to swim by, and then they grab it, and then their mouth is like a big straw that they stick into tadpoles
Dracula.
or fish, and then they suck the guts out like Dracula or like a juice box.
My goodness.
So they're really cool, but they're kind of freaky. And then another freaky one, you can tell by my face here. These are called lamprey, and they're kind of like an eel almost, and they have a sucker mouth with teeth on it, and they'll latch onto the sides of fish and drink the blood of those things.
Do they die that way, the fish, or? Not necessarily.
Sometimes they'll just stay on kind of like a leech and then go away, but then the sores can get infected, and so
wow.
Yeah, so they're an important part of the ecosystem, and then we also have here other fish that eat the fry in the traps. So this is a cutthroat trout. If you can see close enough, he's got yellow slashes on the bottom of his throat, and you can see the arrow is pointing to a little tail of a fry that's inside.
I see it. Yeah,
inside of the trout's mouth, and you can also see he's got a giant belly on him because he's been in our trap all night, just eating all of the fry.
Wow.
So those guys are always funny. They're just little fatties.
And that's a nice one.
Sometimes we even get adult steelhead because when they come back to lay their eggs, they somehow end up in our trap, and then usually they end up eating some of the fish too. So that's a little unfortunate sometimes, but it is pretty cool. This is the first steelhead I've ever actually gotten to hold, so that was really interesting.
Wow.
And we get a lot of western toads. So this is my main topic for tonight. So there are toads in the U.S., and I'll show you, or in the eastern U.S. as well. But these are the ones that we find here in our area most often. And the reason why they're in our traps so much is because they actually use rivers and creeks as highways. So they'll jump into the river, and instead of having to hop all the way to the place they want to lay eggs in, they can just kind of ride the river all the way. So you can see I've got about 5 toads in my hand there. So this is a range map. So if you are in any of those green spots, you might have seen this type of toad before, the western toad, but also in the eastern U.S., you've got a really similar looking toad called the American toad. So if you guys have seen these before, I'd be interested to hear any of your stories about it, or maybe if you've ever licked one of these toads before, because I was asking Christian about this earlier.
Why would I do that? I mean, I would never dream of that. I wouldn't even get to my head.
So from the title, you can tell that these guys are toxic. But the main way to identify them is, compared to frogs, they have really warty skin on them, and they always have kind of a bright yellow line down their back. So they can range in color. They can be more brown, or they can be really green.
Right.
But they'll always have that yellow line down the back, and they're very warty. Terry Green says looks like an alien. I think she was talking about the lamprey, maybe. And Osprey Mama said she has water bugs in Florida too, so that's really awesome.
Right.
It's very cool to see, like, from all over the U.S. The types of things that you guys see that are similar to here in the Pacific Northwest. But this leads us to our next trivia question. I'm wondering if anybody knows. You can Google it, but if you know it, call in first.
Okay.
So the phone number was 462.
Oh yeah, 1 sec. No, 425. One sec. Here we go.
Oh, 425.
Yeah, it's okay.
223-4960. So
That's
before
it.
I give the question.
Yes.
So you might find wetlands around your house or in local parks, and you'll see some weird eggs in the pond. And I'm wondering if anybody can tell me what the difference is between toad eggs and frog eggs. So how are you going to be able to tell whether or not you've got toad eggs or frog eggs in your wetland?
Good question. A good question. Okay, so there's the number 425-223-4960. The question is, how do toad eggs differ from frog eggs, right?
Yeah.
That's the question. Who knows that? Okay, that's a good question. Maybe some of you are biologists and know the answer. So that's your opportunity to dial in, okay? So once again, so just don't be afraid. You can win a very nice picture. I'm just going to show you that again. So that's the picture. And the question is about toad eggs, right? So what makes them different?
Different from frog eggs.
Right, and there's your number again. So we're going to wait a bit. Is anybody on Periscope this time smart? Do they know it?
Not yet. I do have a comment from Kit Harvey.
Kit.
So this is another good point about the hydroelectricity and how much water they let out.
Right.
So salmon really need cold water to survive because the warmer the water gets, the less oxygen is in the water.
Yes, right.
So if they release more water, they're able to cool off the river and provide more oxygen for those. So that was a good point.
Okay, I see some people have not a clue. Osprey Mama, that surprised me. You usually know everything. So that must be a good question. Must be a very good question. So what is the answer to that one? Does anybody, you can look it up, by the way, you can Google it. Google the difference between toad eggs and frog eggs.
And I like Amanda's comment about they have really muscly front legs. They do. The toads have really funny looking.
Yeah, they do.
Strong arms.
Well, they're the kangaroos of the amphibians, right?
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah, they are.
So, yeah, that's whilst you were thinking it, it brings me up to the question, because I thought, why are kangaroos constructed the way they are? I mean, it seems very inefficient to jump. I mean, if you jumped all your life, your knees would be gone, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that wouldn't be very good for your knees. I think of volleyball players. I used to play. Jumping is really bad for you, in the long run. So I think a kangaroo, that's what it does all the time. Yeah. That must go really, So I was wondering, what did nature do there, to make them like that?
Yeah,
so,
that is kind of weird. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's just crazy things I think of at night when I can't sleep. So anyway, so here's your... Oh, here we go. Okay, 1 second. I'm just going to put the picture back and answer the phone. Hello?
Hello, Dr. Sassy.
Hi, who is it, please?
This is Woody, Glenn Hazel
Woody
from Pittsburgh.
Thanks for your donation, Glenn Hazel Woody. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. I love the show, and I want to support you as much as I can.
That's very kind of you. So I forgot where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Pittsburgh, right up from the Hayes Eagle Nest.
That's so nice. Yeah, we should mention what's going on. By the way, I haven't even mentioned the nest yet. What's going on with the nest?
Oh, we're going to be on Hatch Watch is going to start on the 19th.
Right.
The first egg. Yes, we have the second one hatching on the 22nd and the third one on the 25th, hopefully. And
wow.
It's doing well here.
Gosh, that's exciting. Yeah, that's we have to include that in our news. That's wonderful. Very nice.
Thank you.
So now to the question. Do you know the answer to that toad and frog question?
It's the shape. Frogs lay them in big clumps of jelly,
and
Wow.
toads are long strings like pearls.
Awesome, you got it, Glenn Hazelwoody.
Thank you. You
Wow.
said I could cheat. Nobody was calling, so I cheated.
Well, no, that's
okay.
not cheating, for goodness sakes. It's very good you did. So you win this beautiful picture, and thanks again for being on the show. And
Send us an email.
yeah, and send us an email. So I'll put the email out again, just SassePhoto Patreon. So it's a new email that we have now at gmail.com, because it's easy for us to sort it that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you, and good night, and I hope to see Hayes Nest on your show one day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, take care.
Thank
We will
you.
do that. Thanks,
Bye.
fine. Bye. Well,
Awesome.
there we go. So I'm going to jump. Wait 1 second. Let me just get it right this time. Here we go. There's your screen.
There we
Okay,
go.
yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, Glenn Hazel got it right. So on, I think this will show up on the right-hand side on your guys' screen. Right-hand side, we've got the red-legged frog, and you can see all those black dots are in kind of a little clump. So all together, usually you can like pick up the whole clump in your hand, and it'll just be like a big jelly mass. But the toads, if you can see in the photo, they lay theirs in strands, kind of like pearls, like she just said. So if you see either one of these in your pond at home, now you'll be able to tell at least if it's a frog, or a salamander also puts theirs in big clumps, or a toad if it's in long strands.
Right, interesting.
So awesome, Glenn Hazelwoody, for getting that answer. And so these toads are super cool.
Super cool. Listen to that. That's the young people talking. Super cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, okay.
So that's actually my pinky in the photo when I used to paint my nails. Now I don't, because I do too much dirty stuff, getting them all broken and everything.
Okay.
But that's my pinky, and that's actually a little tiny toadlet, a little western toadlet. So you can see in the photo there's very faintly that yellow line on the back.
Right.
And so they start out really small after they hatch, and they hatch in really huge masses. So sometimes you'll have like thousands of these toads all hatching at the same time. And, oh, I gotta go back to this picture.
That's okay. Go on.
So I think I might have this photo later.
Yep.
But so they have a lot of predators, things like herons,
Of course.
raccoons, coyotes, crows too, especially. But like I said, these toads are toxic. So in those big glands behind their heads, and get ready because there's another quiz question coming
Oh,
up.
exciting.
They have a toxin in those warts and in their skin. So I was asking Christian if he had ever licked a toad before. I don't
That's
know
what I do all day. I don't know why she asked me this.
if you
What
guys
else?
have ever licked a toad
I mean, this is
before.
what I do in my garden, right?
Yeah, you just find a toad and
Of
like
course.
automatically lick the toad.
Whatever.
So I don't know if you want to call in and let us know if you've ever licked a toad before.
Yeah, you could do that, right?
But if you have, I've never licked a toad.
But tell me,
before.
do you know people who lick toads? I mean,
I do know people that have licked toads and slugs, and I don't know what people are thinking. And we read a story about a guy that ate a newt that was toxic, and that was not a good idea.
well, it didn't end very well, did it?
Didn't end very well. But when you lick these toads, the toxin actually will make your tongue go numb. And for these animals that eat the toads, it can be toxic to them and can kill them. So a lot of them learn right away not to eat those animals.
So I'll recommend this to my dentist next time, right?
Yeah. Instead of using anesthetic, just throw a toad in
I
there.
don't Okay.
So a lot of animals, like these guys, have learned to only eat the stomachs of the toads. And a lot of times the little babies are safe because they've learned not to eat them.
Right.
But the quiz question is, what is the name of the toxin that's in the glands of the western toad?
Wow.
And it's also the same toxin that's in the American toad. So if you know the answer
Oh,
to
really?
that. Yeah. So again, that
That's
phone number, we'll put it up
That's
again.
a toxic question for your dentist. There you go. So that's a very interesting question. So again, that is the picture that you can win, and I'm going to put in the number quickly for you. So it's the question: name the toxin
That's in the western toad.
that's in the western toad and also in the American toad, right? It's the same. 425-223-4960. So go ahead, please, and call us. Call us. You can look this up. I didn't have a clue, but I mean, we're all learning here, so it's very exciting. So you got a big chance here.
And Cindy says that she had a whole pool worth of tadpoles a couple of years ago. I wonder
Wow.
what type of frogs or toads they were.
Wow.
And and in northern Australia there's the cane toads.
And
So
I'm
maybe
sure
this
that
is-
everything in Australia is super poisonous. So whatever we have here is Australia. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and Osprey Mama's dog had to be taken to the vet because it must have licked a toad. I think that's
Oh
what I-
really? Oh my goodness.
It was okay, but it never goes near frogs anymore.
Wow, they learn, right?
Yeah.
Gosh. Wow. Okay, so does anybody know the answer here? So we'll wait a little bit longer. I'll give you a chance to win. Oh wait, I'll give you the beautiful photo that you can win. It's this one. There you go. That's the photo that you can win. It's a very nice one from Japan. And I just showed you just to show you again here we go. Okay, let's see who this is. 1 second. Let's see if we can answer that. I'm trying. Hello?
Hey, Christian, it's Osprey Mama.
Ah, wonderful. How are you?
Rebecca.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. I am good. But listen, I don't know how to pronounce the word, but I know like the abbreviation for it. So I'm going to give that a shot, okay?
That's fair enough. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think the answer she's looking for is what we abbreviated as is TTS, because it's the same toxin that's in pufferfish. And I know that because of the osprey one time getting a pufferfish, and we asked the biologist all about it, and they mentioned that was the same toxin that was in the frog. So I'm hoping that's the correct.
Oh, wow.
But I cannot say that long name. It's a really long name.
I haven't heard of that. I have heard of the one in the pufferfish. That's not the name that I'm looking for, but I don't know whether or not that's true.
That's
Maybe
true.
it's
We don't
true.
know, right?
And maybe it's different for a different type of toad, but I'm looking for... This one is pretty easy to stay, and it starts with a B.
Oh, no. Then, okay. Well, that's just what I was told, that the frogs have the same toxin as the pufferfish, and they called it TXS.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll look it
Yeah.
up. Look, Osprey Mama, what we'll do our homework. So we don't know whether it's right or not. We just don't know, okay? So we'll look it up and confirm that. So we certainly noted your answer, and we'll find out, okay?
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah.
on to the next caller. Everybody have a good night. Thanks.
Okay,
Thank you
thanks
for
for calling.
calling.
Thank you. Fine, bye. Well, that's an interesting one. So actually, okay, let's take another one. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Sasse.
Yes, who's there, please?
It's Susan Norris calling.
Susan, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you. So, do you know the answer to this?
I'm not sure. I cheated a little, but
There's no cheating.
Can you say...
Bufotoxin?
Yeah, it's bufotoxin.
Good for you. Bufotoxin. So
Okay.
that's great. Well done. Absolutely great. So you win this picture. So just send us an email, please. I'm just going to put it up again. SassePhotoPatreon@gmail.com. And then that makes it a lot easier for us to sort out things. Okay. Well, thanks, Susan. Congratulations. And thanks for being on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, I love the show today. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Fine. Bye. So,
Awesome.
Osprey Mama. So,
We'll look into
we'll look
Osprey
that one.
Mamas.
What did she say? TTX, right?
TTS or TTX,
Yeah, X.
but I'll
I
look
think
up the puffer
just
fish
put it
thing.
into the chat again. What you said, and you know what? We'll look it up. I mean, we're certainly not toxologists, so we have no idea, right?
Yeah. I just saw a few interesting comments on YouTube here. So Sandy Kling has a huge toad that hibernates by her foundation, and a lot of people here in British Columbia get toads that hibernate in their gardens.
Right.
So something that we like to tell people, I'm an outdoor educator, so we like to encourage people not to use pesticides or herbicides in their gardens, because sometimes there are toads that are sleeping in your soil, and if you put those things in your gardens, they might affect those animals. So
what's the alternative? Is there something you can actually advise? People say, "Well, I've got problems." So what should they do?
Well, there are some natural things that you can use. There's different recipes on the internet.
All right.
I don't have a garden, so I
Yeah,
don't
sure,
have that problem.
but there are solutions, right?
Yeah,
so
there
you can...
are alternatives
Right,
to using
okay.
herbicides and pesticides, or at least just check your garden and see if you find any toads before you put anything.
Yeah,
in
okay.
there. But yeah, the answer was bufotoxin.
So we got that.
And
Right.
back to the pufferfish thing. Gretchen
Yes.
says that their visiting eagle delivered a pufferfish to the Northeast Florida nest this week. He ate it, and so did A2, and they're fine, which is pretty interesting.
Wow. So that's what we're talking about. So they can, their fluid, their stomach fluid is, or crop fluid, whatever you want to call it, is so aggressive that it can obviously deal with that before the toxin gets effective or break it down, right? That's interesting, Gretchen. That's really interesting. Well, we're certainly not going to have any puffer fish for dinner, right? No. Wow.
So yeah, we'll go back.
Yeah,
to,
go on.
Is this it?
Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, just go here. That's it. Oh, sorry, I went one too far.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so in their skin they've got bufotoxin, and that's where they get their family name is Buffonidae. That's the family that these toads belong to.
Right.
And it's really interesting. It's toxic to a lot of animals, but garter snakes have actually developed a tolerance to this toxin.
Oh, here we go.
So all those other animals had to figure out that they couldn't eat the toadlets, or they had to eat only the stomachs. But the garter snakes can actually eat the whole toad, and they'll be totally fine. They're not affected by the toxin at all. So it's kind of like an arms race. The toads,
yeah, that's right.
The toads are slowly getting more toxic, and the garter snakes are slowly getting more immune to the toxin.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And these are a cool garter snake that we found on Texada Island here in British Columbia.
Are they poisonous? Or?
No, these ones aren't poisonous. They
Right.
actually don't really even have teeth that can really bite you.
Oh, really?
But if you pick them up, they release a really smelly fluid all over you, which is really gross.
Bleh. Okay.
But normally they're kind of brown or green, and these ones are the only population that we know of that are blue. So that's the actual color.
Beautiful
of them,
color,
kind
actually,
of a teal
isn't it?
color.
It's incredible what nature comes up with. Right.
Yeah, so they're immune, and some of the other things that affect these toads. So in British Columbia, they're a blue listed species, which means that they're a species that's at risk of going or becoming endangered. So they're not endangered yet, but there's a lot of things that are happening to them that are causing their populations to decline.
Are you sure you're on the right slide here?
Yes.
I was just wondering, is this a gaming show?
Yeah, I'm wondering if anybody knows what game this is or recognizes this from maybe their childhood. Because this is one of the main things that affects them. But it's really hard to tell the populations of these animals. So NatureServe in 2014, they estimated that the population is at least 100,000 adults. But it could be up to 1 million adults. It's hard to tell. But that they think the population has declined by up to 50% in the last 200
Right.
years. So they're really trying to watch these populations and see what's happening with them. But one of the main things that happens to these toads is that when those thousands of babies come out all at one time, it's kind of like Frogger, because they build, their wetlands will be in kind of low-lying areas, and then they have to migrate into the forests, which can be about 2 kilometers away. They have to hop all the way there and find their food in hibernation areas in the forest. But a lot of times they have to cross roads on their way to those
So
areas.
the skill is here to get that frog down there, I guess, across the road. Right?
Yeah,
That's
across the road.
Wow, are you good at that?
I don't think I really ever played this game that
okay.
much. I was probably more actually looking at frogs outside. So here's a picture. You can see, I don't know how many toads are in that photo,
my
or
goodness.
toadlets, the little babies.
Wow.
But maybe in where you've lived, you've seen signs of toad crossings or signs like this, tiny toads on the road ahead. So in the Lower Mainland, where Christian and I are, there's a lot of projects going on to try and reduce road mortality, which was one of the main effects
Look
on
at
these.
that.
So this is an underpass that they've created out in Chilliwack.
Right.
Underneath one of the main roads that a lot of the mortality happens on. So all those little dots are all little tiny toadlets. And the estimate this year, they hire people every year to go out and count how many dead toads are on the road. But they also hire people or get volunteers to watch videos, kind of like you guys with the eagle cams. And they have to count all of the toads that are in the videos and that are using the tunnels. So in 2018, the estimate for this one tunnel was 73,700 toadlets.
Toadlets, I like the name. Toadlets. It's incredible.
And that's just the ones that were using the tunnels. So there's lots of other ones that aren't using the tunnels.
Incredible.
And Osprey Mama says Frogger was made before I was born. I think it was. I don't think I was
really?
alive yet. But it's still, I think it's still a pretty popular game with some people. But yeah, so a cool way that they've tried to reduce the road mortality, but unfortunately we don't have underpasses everywhere. But I thought I would share this video so you guys can kind of see it in action. So these are all toads coming out of that tunnel. You can kind of see, they almost look like beetles.
Yeah, they almost look like beetles. That's, wow, beautiful. My goodness, look at that.
And they're all so cute.
Oh, wow. That's quite fast they move, huh?
Yeah, they are pretty fast. They do just look like
So
beetles.
let's talk a bit about the migration. I mean, typically, how far would they migrate?
What I looked up for the average was about 2 kilometers.
Oh, 2. So that's just miles. Oh, yeah, okay, let's jump out of this one.
Yeah, cancel that or close it.
I'll close it. Okay, I got it. There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2 kilometers, it could be more or less. Yeah, there's some, they're all over the place. So the main thing is the getting run over by the cars. So that happens to both the babies and the adults. So in the fall or in the spring when the adults are coming back from the forest from hibernating, they have to cross those roads again to lay their eggs, and a lot of times the adults.
So what's the biological importance of having toads? I mean, all this protection that they're doing. What is it?
Yeah, so maybe you guys have some guesses on this, but there's a bit of a lag, so I'll let you guys kind of answer while I answer. But toads and frogs and amphibians are really good ecosystem indicators.
Ah, there we go.
So they have permeable skin, so they can breathe through their skin underwater, and that means that they take up a lot of, if there's any toxins in the environment, that just goes straight into their bloodstream. And so if we start to notice that a lot of toads or frogs are dying off, that could mean that there's pollution in our water or a number of different things. So they're really good indicators. They also eat a lot of bugs.
Oh, sure. Right.
So if we have more amphibians, like if you have a pond in your backyard, if you encourage amphibians to use it, you'll have a lot less mosquitoes, and like a healthy wetland, you'll have a lot less mosquitoes and bugs.
Very good.
But they also provide food for a lot of those other animals too, like especially when they're in the egg stage. They're food for dragonflies and fish and all kinds of things. And then one of the other impacts is the American bullfrog.
Right.
So we were talking a bit earlier about all the crazy things that these bullfrogs eat. So bullfrogs in British Columbia are not native to here. I don't know about you guys down in the States and where you guys are from, but they will eat the western toads. They'll eat all kinds of things, ducklings, fish.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they just eat whatever they can. They're voracious. And they also compete for habitat. So if there's a bunch of bullfrogs in the pond, there's going to be a lot less native frogs in the pond.
Oh, wow.
So unfortunately, biologists that study these, like I have a couple friends, shout out to Chris Curry and Amy if she's watching, that study western toads and help estimate populations. If they find bullfrogs in those areas, they have to kill them.
Why?
Just because that's part of the regulations for when they're studying these animals, and also because they're not really technically supposed to be in the environment.
Oh, I see.
So it's just it doesn't always help, but the more we can remove from the environment, the better chance that those western toads have to survive.
There we go. Okay.
And the reason why we have so many bullfrogs is because people thought they would be good to eat. Because in France...
Is that really so? Oh.
These are the frogs that you eat when you eat frog legs. And so people brought them over here and were like, yeah, we're going to have a bunch of bullfrogs. And then people stopped eating frogs. And
oh my goodness.
Now we're left with all these frogs here.
But the French are on the East Coast. How's that possible? Yeah. They come all the way.
And so
that's incredible. Okay.
I've got one last quiz question for you guys today.
Oh, here we go. One more. Nice.
So we'll throw up the phone number.
The phone number, yes. There we go. Yeah.
So the quiz question is, there's one other really big impact to amphibians across the world. and it's a type of fungus that kills frogs and amphibians. And I'm wondering if anybody can name what that fungus is, or if you've heard of it before.
Wow.
It was really popular really started to show up in the 1990s. And they think that around 30% of all amphibians have been affected by this fungus.
Okay.
Yeah, we can throw up the picture if you want.
But the picture, that's to win again. So there you go. Is that our fourth question already?
Yeah, that's our fourth question.
I was just thinking I can't count to
just thought
three.
I'd throw it in.
That's fine. Rebecca's full of energy today. So here you get a fourth question. Fourth question. There you go.
So the question is, what's the fungus that affects amphibians or that is detrimental to amphibians? And I think one of the numbers I read was that around 200 species have either gone extinct or been drastically declined by this fungus.
Wow. Well, there you go. So
Let's see if anybody gets that one.
That's incredible. So what is the name of that fungus? But that should be easy to find out, right?
Yeah, that one will be easy to find.
Okay, so go ahead. Who wants the beautiful image there? You can put on your desktop. You can print it out. As long as you don't sell it, it's fine. But you can certainly enjoy it. So there you go. This is another one that's not easy. So one more. So we'll just wait a little bit. I just have to.
We have some questions.
Oh, here we go. 1 second. Let me just jump over and answer this. Hello.
Hi, this is Kim.
Hi, Kim. How are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Tennessee.
From
Where?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Oh,
Tennessee.
Okay.
Got it. Tennessee. How's Tennessee? What's the weather like?
Oh, it's pretty good.
Good meaning? Is it cold?
Okay, It's cold this evening. Yes, it was warmer today.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for calling in. So, do you know the answer to that froggy question, that fungus question?
Is it called chytrid?
Yes, yeah, it's chytrid fungus.
Oh,
you got
wow.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
that's
congratulations.
That's very good. I mean, I wouldn't have a clue, so I'm completely flabbergasted. So I have to leave that to Rebecca to do.
Yeah, Christian doesn't know the answers. So.
Oh, of course, no, I have no idea.
Yeah, so you
No
can
clue.
send us an email
Yeah,
at...
I'm just going to put it in again. So there's, oh no, sorry, here we go. Here's the email. SassePhoto Patreon at gmail.com. Please send us an email and we'll be happy to send you an email and you can print it out in your family, whatever you want, also for your desktop in Tennessee. How's that? Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. I love your work.
Thank you. Thanks.
for
Take care.
calling.
Bye. Wow, that was a difficult. Can we see what the spelling is like of that?
Yeah.
I'd love to see how do we even spell this.
So I did have it in big letters before, but you can see it here.
Yeah.
We just gotta change this one.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so you can see it there. It's CHYTRID. And this is just a map of where they've detected the fungus. So
How
it's
do you pronounce it? Sorry.
chytrid.
Chytrid. Okay. Chytrid. Okay. Very good.
And so you can see it's really popular in Australia. So you might hear about it down there.
Okay.
And South America. So the red is just where they've found the fungus, and it's also caused mortalities in amphibians. And then the yellow is just areas where they've found the fungus, but it's not necessarily causing mortalities yet.
And you know what's interesting here, Rebecca? I was looking at the map at first. I thought, oh well, it's clear that's where the warm countries are. But then I look at, right the north there. I mean, goodness me, that's
Alaska.
Alaska. I was thinking, goodness me. Well, so I'm not correct, right? So that puzzles me.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's been moved around. I mean, a lot of plants and things have been moved around, and people move around. But basically, it's kind of like a skin fungus that causes the amphibian skin to get more thick, and they can no longer really breathe through their skin, and it causes a lot of problems for them and can cause heart failure in the frogs. And yeah, I remember when I was little, even going to the Vancouver Aquarium, they had a whole display all about this fungus, and now I'm here 15 years later talking about it on YouTube.
That's interesting. Thanks, Rebecca. That's really, really great information. Oh,
Yeah, so
that's a
and then I think this was just I was just gonna recap on why toads and amphibians are so important, but we discussed that a little bit already.
That's
so,
fine. That's fine. Very nice. Beautiful.
I believe that's the end of.
That's the end of the presentation, is it?
I think that's the end of. Oh, there's one.
Oh,
more.
there's one more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to encourage people. So in Canada and the U.S., this is the website for the U.S. But I know a lot of you guys are citizen scientists when it comes to eagles, so making observations. Lady Hawk does a lot of summarizing and stuff. But there's also this Frog Watch in the USA and Frog Watch in Canada. So if you just Google Frog Watch, you can go to either website, whether you're from Canada or the US.
Wow.
And it's a citizen science program where they want people to submit observations of these animals. So if you find frogs, like you can take a photo of it, send it into biologists. They'll identify it for you, and it also helps them identify areas where these species are found. And if you notice any weird behavior about these frogs, that's also really important for biologists to be able to identify areas where this fungus has been showing up, or maybe there's just a population that you've seen before and nobody has ever really known about.
Right. Well, I'm going to let you read out this comment. I'm going to be nasty. You read out this comment from Sandy Kling. So this is quite something.
So Sandy Kling says, chytridiomycosis is an infectious disease in amphibians caused by the chytrid fungi Batrachochytrium
I got you.
dendrobatitis and Batrachochytrium salamandriovirens, a non-hyphal zoosporic fungus.
You're good.
Chytridiomycosi.
You
A lot
are
of big
good.
words.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think I got all of them right.
I'm
but-
impressed. I am impressed. I thought, what a, well, oh, good.
Yeah, so just Google Frog Watch, and it's just an awesome program if you find any frogs or anything like that. And then I do have, it's not a book review, but just for anybody that is in the Pacific Northwest, I have a really good resource to show you guys. So maybe you could make us bigger.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I will. 1 second. I was just looking to see if there's anything on.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. No, we're fine on Facebook. I'm just trying to track everyone here. So 1 second. So you want to just hold it in front of the camera.
Yeah. So if you
One
are
sec.
in
Go
the,
a bit closer. I'll put it.
There we go.
1 second. I'm just going to put it on the other screen so you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're from the Pacific Northwest, this is a really awesome field guide to amphibians.
It may be in the wrong. You know, they may see it in mirror. I'm not
I don't
quite
know
sure.
if you can make us big.
Oh no, it's good.
Okay. Yeah, I can't read the name right now, but I'll put it in the comments. And maybe I can show them the inside too.
Okay.
So this actually has all the frogs and toads and salamanders of the Pacific Northwest. And it talks about habitat. It also shows you. So it shows you what they look like. It shows you what they look like as tadpoles or as babies. And it also shows you the range and what time of year to find them. So this has been the best amphibian field guide that I've found. Amphibians of Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia by Corcoran and Toms.
So there you go.
And Corcoran and Toms. So if you find that, just pick it up, and it's a really good resource if you want to learn more about amphibians.
Great. Very nice, Rebecca. Oh, good. Well, that's, I think,
That's a lot of information.
That brings us, wow, we have been nearly here for 1.5 hours. Unbelievable. So, talking about all the eagles, all the toads and frogs and 4 questions. My goodness, that's a lot of detail, right? Wow. And salmon, of course. We had salmon too. So it was a lot for one session. So anyway, that brings us to the end of our show. So yeah, by the way, next week I'm flying on Thursday night. Thank goodness the Boeings are not all down. I was just looking, my goodness, there's a 777 that flies to Australia. Thank goodness it's not one of these grounded ones, but I'm off to Australia for about nearly 4 weeks, doing astrophotography there. And I will definitely be looking out for the wedge-tailed eagle there. And if I can and have time in between, I will definitely broadcast whatever I can. So So it's not easy with the time difference often. That's the problem, right? It's an enormous time difference, and I'm also quite busy there, but I definitely want to share whatever I can in nature there with you. So it may be spontaneous broadcasts, okay? And I don't have the incredible net or wireless, the cellular net that we had in Japan, which was outstanding. That's why I could give so many broadcasts. I could just go out and just use the most spontaneous great broadcast, probably the best I've ever done there because of their network. But anyway, I'll do what I can. And if I can't, I will bring home whatever I can. So I will try and keep in touch with you, probably more on a spontaneous. And Rebecca, yeah, so...
I'll be on Patreon, so if you're on Patreon...
That's right. You're on Patreon, so Rebecca's going to take good care of you in the meantime.
Yeah, and I like your guys' comments on the blog post. So yeah, feel free to leave comments and questions, and I'll get back to you guys.
Well, wonderful. So... thanks also to what airline? That's Air Canada, gentleman ghost. It flies 16.5 hours straight from Vancouver to Sydney, so which is very convenient because I carry so much luggage. Not that I need a lot of clothes, but there's a lot of equipment I always take with me. That's the most important. So that's it's Air Canada, but they all buy Boeings, and nothing wrong with Boeing. It just happens that the one seems to be down. Unfortunately, it's not the one that I'm using. Okay. So anyway,
And one last thing.
Yeah, go, sure.
Just again for those people that we mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, the donators to YouTube. Either go back to the beginning of the video or we'll put your names in the description. And if you could just email us with your YouTube channel name, I'll send you guys a reward.
Yeah, and thanks for all the kind comments. I also see Osprey Mama here giving a thank you. And all of you participating on all channels, really wonderful. So we're going to go again, and we'll start off with Facebook. So thanks to all the Facebook friends, and thanks for staying there. I will keep on posting, okay? So keep on watching. There are a lot of eagle images to come. I got thousands, okay? So we'll keep on going. Thank you. And then we'll say to Patreon, have you already? Oh, so goodness me,
Goodbye,
I can't get it right today. I can't. So yeah, you just need to press that and say
goodbye.
Say goodbye to Periscope, okay? Right, and then finally comes YouTube. All the great friends, and I also just see Pacific Northwest Kate. By the way, look also at Pacific Northwest Kate's incredible videos of the incredible wildlife that we have here. I see Gretchen, also Tom Sawyer and Amanda, of course. Thank you for being with us. And I'm going to be in the warmth next week. And Lady Hawk, also thank you so much, Lady Hawk, especially to you. And thanks for your kind words and keeping us all up to date. If in any way, Lady Hawk, I can manage to do something in Australia, I promise I will. Okay, well, so I'll see what I can do. It'll be very spontaneous. Okay, so good night to everyone, and I wish you a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Okay.